Hi there. So we're going to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which debuted in theaters on May 2nd, the year 2014, if you follow the Judeo-Christian calendar. This movie is the sequel to the 2012 The Amazing Spider-Man. Stars Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker / Spider-Man, and Emma Stone, who plays Gwen Stacy. So we're each gonna go give our thoughts on it, and you can start, Luke.
Okay. I'm gonna start off by saying Emma Stone. Yeah, Emma Stone in her schoolgirl outfit. Let's not forget that part of the movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part. Actually,
yeah. But in all seriousness, this was actually the first of the Amazing Spider-Man movies I actually watched, because I wasn't sure how I felt about it, and I really want to go back and watch the first one now, because this just absolutely blew the Tobey Maguire movies away. Andrew Garfield is a much better candidate, actor, whatever you want to say, for Peter Parker / Spider-Man. He brings the cockiness and the smart-assery that I grew up with watching the Spider-Man cartoons and playing the games based off of those cartoons and comics. Again, I'm not too familiar with the character of Gwen Stacy because I didn't read the comics, but the chemistry between the two of them for these two characters for the entire movie was spot on. The movie had a great soundtrack. There were times where Electro, Jamie Foxx's character, was on the screen and you just heard kind of these whispers while you were in the theater. And I really didn't pay too much attention to them at first, but then I was like, okay, if they're working these into the soundtrack, they're probably saying something. And it seemed like it was the thoughts of Jamie Foxx's character, which made me think he was definitely little off, little schizophrenic.
He kind of acted off.
Yeah,
especially early in the movie.
Yeah. Is his character actually schizophrenic or something?
It seems like because he's responding to voices that aren't there. So.
Yeah, and how he's talking about talking to himself in the mirror.
Yeah. So there's definitely some mental issues, which was definitely a different take on the Electro character again than I am used to. But it was very good, very well done. The fight scenes and things like that were excellent. I'm going to turn it over to these guys.
Yeah, I saw the first Amazing Spider-Man movie when it came out 2 years ago, and this one is definitely, I would say, better than the first one. Like Luke said, Andrew Garfield is an amazing Peter Parker in Spider-Man. I mean, watching the movie, you wouldn't know he's British, and he has a British accent, a heavy British accent.
Heavy British accent.
And he brings the everything that Tobey Maguire didn't have, because he had the cockiness that, hey, I'm Spider-Man, I got this. He had the kind of the humor. There's the one scene that they show off in the trailer all the time where his Aunt May asks him, oh, why do you have black stuff all over your face? He goes, oh, I was cleaning the chimney. And she says, Peter, we don't have a chimney. And he just goes, what? I don't know. It's one of those great, just kind of funny moments that they threw in there for him. And from the comics, Emma Stone pulls off Gwen Stacy very well. Now, in the comics, Gwen doesn't know that Peter's Spider-Man. She never finds out. She never gets the opportunity to. But she is very, kind of works the same with Peter. She's constantly trying to make things work with him because, he's always disappearing and doing stuff like that. So it works off kind of in the same way in this movie, and she's, just as smart as Gwen is in the comic books. And the chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone is just phenomenal. These two are actually dating in real life, which I think helps. Something that, even though it was there, it wasn't there as prevalently with Tobey Maguire and and Kirsten Dunst. It was there, but it wasn't as much because there's just this natural chemistry between the two. And yeah, so that aspect of the movie was really good. Jamie Foxx did a good job as Electro. I feel like he did a little bit better job as Max Dillon, who, you know, the normal, everyday guy who's invisible before Electro. And then Electro, he still did an okay job. I mean, he was a little bit more different. He kind of had just a really, like, fast, sharp personality change, but then there's hints at mental illness throughout the movie, so maybe that attributes to that. And then Harry Osborn was another fantastic character. The actor who plays him, who's the movie that I remember him being in, he was in the Metallica Through the Never movie. He did a great job playing him and the Green Goblin. He becomes the Green Goblin in the movie, and they kind of set up how he becomes the Green Goblin very, very well, and like they do all of that really well. And one thing about this movie that was also just extremely good was the pacing. First movie seemed very rushed. It was just very, you know, they didn't know if they're going to have another movie, so they wanted to get a story out in and of itself. And so, whereas this time now they have story to go back on, they don't have to explain as much, so now they can just kind of ease it along instead of kind of doing a 400-meter sprint from start to finish. They kind of eased it on. It was a little bit more of like a nice 5K jog or something for this.
Dane DeHaan.
Dane DeHaan, that's the guy's name. Thank you. And, Dane. His name's Dane. But, the pacing was really good. I feel like the story was just really good. It flowed really nicely. I mean, I know IGN posted a bunch of things saying, oh, there's too many villains. Well, the Green Goblin was barely in the movie. He was only really in the movie for like the last half an hour. And then R.Y.N.O, who was in the movie, but he's only there for like the last 5 minutes. Like, it was mostly just Electro, so I don't get how there could be too many villains. And then they said, when you finally find out about what happens to Peter's parents and how they died and why they died, like they said, oh, that wasn't fulfilling. It was like, how's it not fulfilling? I mean, I kind of feel like they were just watching the movie. They weren't trying to enjoy it. But I felt so, like I said, the story was really good. And one thing that stood out very much for me was the action was just so much better than in the first movie. It was the sequences, even though it was obviously CG, it looked real enough, and they just kind of played it off so well, everything, and the soundtrack fit perfectly to all of that, and it just, everything meshed together so nicely, and it made a fantastic movie.
Yeah, buddy. I don't have too much to add. Honestly, these guys really summed everything up. I don't want to be redundant. My favorite part was definitely the action in this movie. It was just so well done. The animations were fantastic. They just, you knew a lot of things were animated, but you didn't know. It just blended so well together with everything else that, at times you might not have been able to tell or something, It just really, the animations were just superb. It was really cool during the action sequences how, like, the camera would go all slow-mo, all the people would stop or something, and they would show all these scenarios that are about to happen, then you just watch Spider-Man just work his magic in slow motion or something. Like, those type of things really added to the action. And it was cool how I felt the action sequences, you felt like you were watching, but then when they would do things like that, it felt like they took the action, like this, and they just, put it under a microscope, and it's like, this is the nuts and bolts of what's about to happen, it was pretty cool. Especially, not to spoil too much, which is not too big of a spoil, but just the final fight against Electro was just mind-blowing. It was so well done. It was so cool. So that was probably a big highlight of the movie for me. Andrew Garfield is just a phenomenal Spider-Man. He's such a good Spider-Man. And he pulls it off really well. I can't really say much more than that. It's just, he just has a great performance. I feel he was better in this movie than he was even in the first movie. Same with Emma Stone playing Gwen Stacy. It was better. you know, in this movie than, you know, the first movie. The only thing that I'm going to nitpick at is I haven't read the comics, but I know enough about Spider-Man. I know enough about the villains and stuff. But it felt like literally every scene between Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker, they were, you know, 1 minute, you know, arguing with each other and, you know, breaking up and crying, and the next minute they love each other. You know, the next scene they're arguing and stuff, and then the next scene they love each other. It's like, it just got a little old after a little bit to me, and a little bit redundant. That's just personal opinion, me maybe being a little nitpicky. But other than that, I feel, you know, everything was a little bit more magnified in this because Electro is a fucking... They really did him good, I feel, or well, I should say. At times I just thought, like, watching, you know, what Electro could do with his power, and I'm like, how in the fuck is Spider-Man gonna defeat him? You know, it was really, really cool to watch. The movie flowed a lot better, whereas The Amazing Spider-Man, the original first one, really was rushed a lot. You know, when the main villain came in the first one, it just felt very short. Whereas here, he's here for, I'd say, about 3/4 of the movie. You know, it was really cool. I have zero complaints about there being 3 villains because it's really like there's only one most of the time. Green Goblin's not really in it, but, you know, it's set up for future movies, which I don't have a problem with that. Same with R.Y.N.O. Yeah, it was just really cool. Everything I felt was just superbly well done. From the acting to the pacing of the plot to the action, it was phenomenal. I do think this movie's better than the first one, and I'm not just saying that because I have, you know, you're going through that thing where you just saw a movie and you're like, dude, it's the greatest movie I ever saw because I saw it on a big TV in a theater. You know, it was just a good movie, and I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, there were a lot of like Ty was saying, there were a lot of allusions to future Spider-Man movies, a lot of allusions to characters that featured prominently, like Felicia Hardy, who, as many people know, is Black Cat. There was allusions to the Sinister Six, which there are rumors of.
Actually, it's basically confirmed they're making a Sinister Six movie.
Okay, so there we go. You heard it here first, confirmed, Sinister Six movie.
Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Half-Life 3 confirmed. Half of 6 is 3. Half-Life.
We did
Half-Life
it.
3 confirmed.
We did it. We got it.
So what would you guys give this?
I would give this movie an 8.5. It's a solid movie, and if you saw the first one, I definitely encourage you to go see it. If you didn't see the first one, still go see it. If you're into action movies or just superhero films, it's a fun movie to watch. It really is.
I would also give it an 8.5. This is, if you, for whatever reason, if you didn't like the first, or the first Amazing Spider-Man was okay, and you're like, I still want that Spider-Man movie. That's like the movie to watch if you like Spider-Man. I feel like this is the movie, especially in terms of Spider-Man. This is the movie to watch if you want just that. At least as of right now, the closest you can get to the perfect Spider-Man movie. This is probably the closest you're going to get, so you should definitely go see this. So, it's a great movie.
Yeah, I have to agree with Keith. If you want like the definitive Spider-Man to watch, this movie is it as of this point in time. I guess I'm going to make it unanimous and give it a 8.5 out of 10. 420 blaze it.
Average score is a 420.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think Andrew Garfield blazes it.
I don't know. He might.
At times he seemed like he might.
All I can say is Andrew Garfield is a lucky son of a bitch.
He really is.
Because he gets to bang him a stone.
On
the reg. On the reg.
Like
Not on the rag. Not on the rag. On the rag.
Every scene with her, just massive erection.
everywhere. You could just see all the guys were immediately paying a lot more attention.
Especially when she was in the schoolgirl outfit.
Yeah.
I was just like, fuck you, Peter Parker. Get out of the way.
Stop talking.
Yeah. So I'm pretty stoked for future Spider-Man movies, like the Sinister Six movie. It's going to be tits.
And we all like tits.
Yes.
Everyone loves tits.
And